Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. I have another reaction video today, or looking at TikTok through a video, we should call it. So I'm going to look at some things, look at some stuff that you've all tagged me in, see what is going on. Should you try it? Should you not try it? Who knows? These are just for fun and a little bit of education. As I always say, or I keep trying to remember to say, creativity and individuality have no rules, but makeup most definitely has a theory. And these videos are for people who want to learn that. Perhaps some of these for entertainment purposes only videos don't quite work for you in your real everyday makeup routine. And we can go through why. Or maybe you've bought a product that went viral and it was shit. And we can go through why. I'm here to save you time. I'm here to save you money. Also, looking at my face right now, I've tried a few new products. That's why I'm a little bit patchy everywhere. So I will be using the YouTube Shorts feature to post like quick product reviews from now on. So you can kind of see what's good and what isn't, because I do get a lot of products. So yeah, should we just get straight into it? Let's do it.
Okay, so in college, I took a makeup and design for the stage class, and our instructor, Emma, taught us how, I think her name was Emma, she taught us how to set our face with just like a puff and some setting powder and a wet paper towel. Like, we would have a bunch of lines like on our face. Like, we would, it was stage makeup, so it had like a bunch of like crazy shit. Like, I remember one time I was an owl. And we would like set it like that, and she would run her finger down our face with a bunch of pressure, and like if it was done correctly, nothing came out. Like, it was set perfectly. So I want to see if that still works. Okay, so literally, like, you just take your puff and put a ridiculous, I can't fucking talk today, but a ridiculous amount of powder all over. Like, just work that bitch in. It looks like I have a beard. This is just the Ben Nye neutral set. I love all Ben Nye powders. Oh, fuck. Okay, I know this looks insane, but if it works the way I remember it, it's like a super easy way to really lock your fucking makeup in. Okay, let me finish. Okay, I'm done. I'm pretty sure we didn't brush it off. We just set it in until it looked kind of neutral. So, there's a couple spots in my nose. Hold on, I can't see. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure we just did that. I don't remember if we like brushed it off or not. I don't remember. Should I like Google it? I feel like we left it. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, I'm gonna grab a wet paper towel and I'll be back. Okay, so now that it's like mostly set, I just have a damp paper towel. And from what I remember, you just like push it into your skin. Okay. Let me finish doing that. Okay, so I just patted it in like all in my face, and I think it worked because there's no makeup on this after me like going like this. So I think it's gonna work. Obviously there's a bunch of like powder here, but hold on. All right, my finger is clean. Let's see. Okay, like barely anything, bitch. I mean, I feel like that's not bad for no setting, like anything. Like, well, okay, you set it, but for no setting spray. Stop. I like it.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because there's a few different ways we can go. Let me recenter myself. Okay, straight up, yes, that is going to work. Also, okay, no, let's start from the beginning. This is a very old technique that was used. I have a brush somewhere. I don't know where it is. If you're familiar with Basingstoke Cosmetics, they make some of the most incredible vintage-inspired makeup. They do a brush, which is like this huge, it looks like a hairbrush, but obviously the bristles aren't a hairbrush. It's like a makeup brush. I'll have to put the pic. I don't know where I've put it. I'll put it up and show you. I have one. And these used to be used because way back in the day for stage, for film, they used to do that, shove powder over the face and like really pack it in and yeah, just get it everywhere. Then they would use this big brush to brush over the whole face and to remove the powder basically. So they did brush it away. Almost like Baking, unfortunately. And the only difference is you wouldn't leave it on for that long. You would like push it into the skin. The only thing is, and with that method, and the same with baking, it won't look nice a few hours later unless there's somebody there to keep touching it up, to keep redoing things. And actually, when I did, what video was it I did? I need to find it because somebody sent me a picture of their grandmother getting married back in the 50s, I think it was early 50s, and it was actually the method that she used for her foundation. And you can actually see it on a lot of older pictures where the skin looks slightly crusty and crumbly, and it's from that method. It's where the skin's just been going all day and the powder's starting to dry out a little bit. Here's another thing though, if we go on the other side, when you dampen a powder or wet a powder, it sets like rock, like clay almost, I should say, and it will stay. However, if you are using a powder with color, so not a translucent powder, you might run the risk of the color deepening slightly and it being the wrong shade. So there's so many different things, and I'm not a fan of setting spray, but this is the only time. So if I'm doing a full face of powder foundation, for example, on myself, I used to use powder foundation all the time. I would use 1.5, depending on the variations the powder gave me, or shades lighter than my own skin tone, because I knew I'd go crazy with like a mist or just anything wet and then let it dry, fan it dry, and then it will be set for hours. But then having oily skin, you know, oil comes through and it's a way to make it last a bit longer. So long story short, I can't see why this wouldn't work with a translucent powder. Depending on what translucent powder you use, there are some ones which are like finely jet milled. There are some ones that are more silicone based powders, which are going to look terrible if there's like a flash or lighting, or it's just going to look very, very strange. So the Ben Nye one she was using, Ben Nye is a great brand for like stage things, and it just looks like, it doesn't look like blurring something powder. You don't use anything like that, so I can't see why that wouldn't work. Just do be careful. I would still stay away from the baking area under the eyes, because that's going to look shit. It's still going to look like baking, but I don't see why that wouldn't work. Maybe I'll try it, see what happens. Okay,
I wish I knew about this hack earlier. I'm talking about a hack for your under eyes to stop creasing after you apply concealer throughout the day. That usually happens to me pretty much all the time. By the end of the day, my concealer has to crease, even if it is a little bit. And then I just go in with my fingertip, tap a little bit just to remove the creases. But this one, my friends, I'm talking about this. You need the tiniest amount of this before you go in with the corrector. Very tiny. Let me show you how much. This much. I haven't done this part of my under eye just to show you how I apply it. Also, do not forget to tag your friend who needs to see this. And don't forget to save this video just in case you want to come back and see the product. So this is how much I take. I apply a little bit underneath the eyes, especially where I know I have the most creasing. And I leave it for about 10 seconds for it to set. And then I go ahead and correct my under eyes and do the concealer. Let me do that and let me show you. The corrector and concealer is done. And if you want to know what corrector and concealer I use, I've already made a video about it. So either I'm going to tag the video with this video, or I'm going to mention the video in the comment section down below. So next time you apply some NYX eyeshadow base on your eyelids, don't forget to apply it before you apply the concealer.
Okay, am I recording? Yeah. Oh, thank God. Okay. Yes, let's talk about this. This is something I recommend all the time. I actually made a video about it. It was when I first got my first puppy, so 3 years ago. Oh, she looks so small. Check out the video because I also go through the method, but it's basically what she just did there. Now, again, yes, it works, but here's the deal, right? So let's say, for example, my favorite primer to use on the eyelid is the Sigma eye primer, because one, it is quite tacky and quite dry, and my eyelids are very oily, and eye bases we want to use to stop that oil coming through. So perfect for the eyelid. Oil breaks down makeup, we don't want it. However, under the eyes, the key to it creasing is most of the time is either the texture of the eye, which we can't help, or a lack of hydration. The texture here in your lid and how greasy and oily it is drastically different to this. Complete opposites. We're drier under here. And I don't mean dry by all our skins are flaking off and it's, you know, a horrible whatever, but you need to be careful. So the one she used in that video in particular is great, the NYX one, because it's a little bit more fluid-like. The one I used in my video was the Revolution Do they still make it? I don't even know if they still make it. Because it's an eye primer, it does its job as a primer, but it also is a little bit more fluid-like and a little bit more hydrating is the wrong word, but it's not as dry. So you want to keep the under eye still hydrated and with a little bit of moisture, and because you don't want to dry it out, because that will lead to more creasing. Because then if you were to then go on top with powder, you're then instantly sucking up all that moisture, absorbing all that moisture, and then lines are going to come straight back. So I tend to stay away or shy away from setting the under eyes completely. Just a light dusting of powder is all you need. Other great primers to use under the eye without creasing would be like the Rare Beauty one, which has a tiny bit of color, but it's not completely, you know, skin-like, it's not dry. And then anything that is a little bit more like slippery in texture. Yeah.
This is an instant skin blurring cream that they use on Euphoria. So it's by Indeed Laboratories and it's called Nanoblur. Okay, let's see what this is all about. Let's zoom you in to really see this in action. Okay, let's try that much. All right. It literally blurred. Hold on. This happened so fast. I am so shocked at the results. Ready for the before and after? Oh my god. I am literally so shocked at what it did to my skin. I Googled it. So this formula is the original skin blurring cream on the market. And it works. I am still shocked.
Okay, let's talk about Nanoblur. I don't know if they changed the formula like recently, because I used it a few months ago and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel the same. Me and my friends used to use this when we were like, I don't know, like, I can't remember how old. It mattifies the skin. It does take away shine. In terms of blurring the skin, it's comparable to Professional. I wouldn't say it's much of a blur. You can still see things. By the way, I'm reacting to this one because I have seen Nanoblur a lot recently, because everyone's like, oh, Euphoria. But it's great at it mattifies, and especially on a platform like TikTok, where you can see the upload quality isn't so great, pores randomly appear and disappear. When you mattify on camera, it blurs. In real life, not so much. You can see in her TikTok at the end, you can see where the face kind of just looks more matte rather than blurred. You can use it on top of makeup, but you have to be extremely careful. It is a good product, and if you haven't used it before, it's kind of like, oh my god, that's kind of crazy. But to me, it is just comparable to something like Professional.
Did you know you're supposed to wet the beauty blender?
Yeah, you are supposed to wet the beauty blender. But to be fair, I do feel like there are a lot of things to makeup that people don't really explain because they think it's just general knowledge. So I'm going to tell you everything that you may not know about makeup that everyone just assumes everyone knows. First of all, before you apply any makeup at all, you need to moisturize your face and make sure it's really well prepped, otherwise your makeup is going to look so heavy. Second of all, your skin can either have 3 undertones, yellow, pink, or neutral, and you can check this by looking at the veins on your wrist. I can't remember what colors are which, but you can just Google it. Obviously, damp your beauty blender. Using a yellow tone concealer is really going to help brighten your under eyes. If you want that really bright, highlighted, awake look, you want to use a yellow tone concealer. It's basically just color theory that I don't have enough time to explain, but just trust me. Also, another thing with the beauty blender, you always want to pat in the product like this. You never want to drag the product at all. And lastly, after you've set your face with powder, whatever you do, do not go in with any more liquids. It will make the powder move around and separate, and it just does not go. Hope this helped.
Okay, let me just go step by step here, because there's some really good points made, and one which is dodgy, but we'll get into it. It is so true. When you are a makeup artist or anything, take your profession, right? And then imagine trying to like explain it to someone. So let's say like you're a makeup artist and you're explaining eyeshadow, right? You might be like, yeah, just take it through the socket and blend it and just go like this and it will blend. But some things that may be basic to you that aren't to everyone else is, and even if you're not a professional, even if you're just good at makeup, where you're holding the brush. Are you holding it here or here makes a difference? What angle are you coming in at? You know, all these things, how far are you taking it in? All these things that are common sense and that you kind of like naturally do, like riding a bike, you know, that you naturally do when you're doing your job, aren't common sense to everyone else. So it's great if you're trying to teach someone or explain something to go that little bit deeper in. Prepping the skin is absolutely 100% crucial to makeup, and we've seen it be done wrong a lot online. It isn't that it's going to look heavy, you know, that depends on your application in terms of how much product you use. If you don't prep your skin and use a light concealer, of course, it's not going to look heavy. You're going to see a texture more. The foundation isn't going to have a nice surface to sit on. So you prep your skin according to your skin type. And when you're doing your skincare for makeup, which I consider completely different from your normal skincare routine, you prep literal to your skin type, in my opinion. So, for example, in the evening, although I may use more hydrating ingredients on my skin, as an oily person, I wouldn't dare do that before my makeup because, you know, my makeup isn't going to last a long time. In terms of like really well prepped, I think how well it's done is like what I said. It doesn't mean use loads of product, because actually using excessive product can make your foundation come off quicker. Yellow undertone under the eye. Now this is a little bit wrong, but also right at the same time. If we look at a color wheel and we want to cover what we consider like a bluey tone under the eye, we go ahead and take what's opposite, right? And that would be your more reds, orangey tones, because they cancel each other out. And when we look under the eye, we think of more, when we see dark circles, it's considered a blue undertone. Basically. But you can get loads of color correctors. I have a color correcting palette that has like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, loads of different shades in that you could possibly use under the eyes for all different skin tones, for all different skin types, for all different tones of darkness under the eye. You can adapt it and change it. However, not everyone is that bluey tone under the eye. Sometimes you can be red and you're trying to cover your under eyes with color correctors, but I've seen people with more of a reddy pinky tone under the eye, so that could be right. There seems to be this thing in makeup at the moment where everyone is just flat out using a yellow undertone for whatever, and that's not always the case. Look at what you're trying to cover. What tone is it? Because if you're using a yellow tone on top of something that's too blue, it can look a little bit of a weird color and can almost give the impression of looking a little bit ashy and a little bit gray, basically. It doesn't physically make gray, but it can give the appearance of looking gray. Oh, and then if you do want a brighter under eye, then absolutely then go on top of your color correction with the yellow.
Please stop applying liquid highlighter like this. People always ask why their liquid highlight doesn't work for them, why it goes flaky, cakey and patchy, and it's because you are applying it directly onto your base. Look, you can see it right there where I placed it. My perfect way to apply it that I've found is apply it onto your hand like this. Use the bum of a damp beauty sponge to pick some up and then tap off the excess and press and massage it into the skin, and it's just going to melt in like butter and you're going to get a glass skin finish. I apply it absolutely everywhere and it's going to make you look like you just have your skincare on. It is stunning. So this patchy side to this stunning glowy side. If you struggle with liquid highlighter, try this and thank me later.
Oh my god, for 1 second, I thought she was going to just do this. I was like, oh, TikTok. But that looked stunning. That looked so beautiful. I don't mind. I would never take the applicator and put it on my face. I don't mind it put on the back of my hand and then tapping it on. And I think it's more of the bounce and the application you get from it. But that looks beautiful with that beauty blender. It really did look like skin. And again, I think it's that application, that roll you can almost get. When you apply it directly to a face with a finger, you do have to work a little bit quicker, because I totally agree. Like she said, it looks kind of like you get the skin texture involved, and it kind of can look a little bit like, oh, you can see everything. I'm gonna have to try that. That looks really, 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 really nice. Oh, my heart. I thought she was gonna be like, do this. Honestly, I have a trust issue with TikTok. Okay, well, that was all for today. Like I said, go ahead, tag me over on Instagram, TikTok. You can find the usernames of all the creators featured in this video below. I just have them on the screen with their TikTok, but they weren't very easy to see, so I started putting them below for you as well, so you can go ahead and check out their profiles. Thank you so much again for joining me, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.